When we think about history, we often think about these big, grand events, dates, battles, declarations. But what about the people living through it? For them, history is deeply personal. And that's what we're going to explore today. We're going to see how one of the biggest moments of the 20th century unfolded for two, well, pretty ordinary Americans, a couple named Betty and Fred, back in the fall of 1941.
So this really brings us to the heart of their story, and maybe all of our stories, right? How can just one day, a single moment, change, well, everything? For Betty and Fred, their world was just about perfect, full of plans and dreams, and it was all about to be completely shattered.
All right, so let's set the scene. Picture this. It's early November 1941. We're in sunny San Diego. Now, the rest of the world, it's kind of teetering on the edge of something big. But for our couple, Fred Seaver and Betty Carringer, life is pretty sweet. It's filled with all these simple joys and this real, tangible promise of a future together. So get this. They're on a perfect Saturday date at the San Diego Zoo. You can just imagine the sounds, right? Lions roaring in the distance, kids laughing. And in the middle of all this, Fred turns to Betty and just says, "I don't think I'd ever get tired of this." I mean, wow. It's just one of those moments of pure, simple happiness, the kind of feeling you think is going to last forever.
And here's a little detail that really puts you there. 50 cents. That's what it cost for an adult to get into the zoo back then. That was the price of their perfect day. It just grounds you in their world, doesn't it? A world that felt, simpler, more affordable. And on that particular sunny afternoon, completely and totally safe.
But this perfect day, it wasn't just about what was happening right then and there. See, they're watching a mother kangaroo with a little Joey in her pouch. And just like that, their conversation turns to the future. And for Fred, this isn't just some vague, far-off dream. No, this is a real, solid plan. This date wasn't just a date. It was them laying the foundation for a whole life together. And the day just keeps getting better. It ends with this huge promise. After a pretty fancy dinner at the famous Hotel del Coronado, Fred lays it all out. He makes his intentions crystal clear. This is the ultimate expression of security, right? He's planning to talk to her dad, planning a proposal, a marriage, their entire future. It feels like everything is falling perfectly into place for them. Okay, so fast forward a few weeks, it's Thanksgiving, and their little world feels more secure than it ever has. But, and you knew there was a but coming, this is also where you start to see the outside world kind of creeping in. And then you have this moment. It's the moment every hopeful son-in-law dreams of, Betty's father, a guy named Lyle, doesn't just welcome Fred. He stands up and publicly declares him part of the family circle. It's official. Their bond is now sanctioned, totally protected within the warmth of her family. But even at this table, surrounded by family and food and all this gratitude, the outside world is knocking. They're talking about the news, about the growing tensions over in the Pacific. You could feel it. There's this sense that their peaceful world might not last. Everyone kind of agrees that war is coming. They just have no idea how soon. And then it happens. The pivot point. The day that changes absolutely everything. Not just for the country, but for Betty and Fred, living their quiet life on Fern Street. The morning starts out so normal. It's a lazy Sunday. Betty's been to church with her family. They're getting lunch ready. There's classical music playing softly on the radio in the background. It's this absolute, almost boring normalcy that makes what happens next so completely violent and jarring. And then the music stops, and this voice comes on the radio. Can you just imagine hearing those words? Tense, breathless, cutting right through the calm of your Sunday afternoon? In that single instant, the abstract idea of war, something happening over there, becomes a brutal, terrifying, right here, right now fact. And just like that, it's over. The world they woke up in that morning, gone. The future they had so carefully planned out, the one they talked about just a few weeks ago at the zoo, it's now completely, terrifyingly uncertain. And this huge national crisis, it becomes personal fast. Fred's first phone call is to Betty, and his words just drop the war right into the middle of their relationship. It's not a question of if it will affect them anymore. Now it's all about how. The draft, enlistment, all of a sudden those words are hanging over every single plan they ever made. So, what happens now? Really, what do you do? How do you even begin to celebrate a holiday that's all about peace and hope when your entire country has just been thrown into war? Let's take a look at how Betty and Fred tried to navigate this brand new, scary reality.
Well, the change is immediate, and it's tangible. You can see it. Fred's job at Roar Aircraft, it transforms literally overnight. They go to 3 shifts, round-the-clock production. They're making plans to expand, to hire hundreds of new workers. And they stop making parts for training planes and switch to parts for bombers. The war isn't some distant thing on the news anymore. It's right there, humming in the factories, changing the entire rhythm of daily life.
So this became their new reality, this weird kind of split screen. On the one hand, you have all the familiar traditions of Christmas. The lights are out, people are shopping. But on the other hand, it's all happening alongside this deep, constant anxiety. You see young men in uniform everywhere. Patriotic displays are in all the store windows. There's this edge of fear underneath all the celebration.
So in a world that's suddenly so uncertain, what do you hold on to? What becomes important? Well, for Betty and Fred, it wasn't about stuff. Their gifts to each other that Christmas were so personal, these handmade expressions of their love. She painted a watercolor of the spot where he first told her he loved her. And he hand-carved this beautiful wooden art box just for her. They were investing in what was real, what was lasting.
And then, on Christmas evening, this really powerful moment happens. Betty's father pulls Fred aside. And he doesn't just give Fred his blessing to propose. He tells him that now is the right time to do it. Think about that. His reasoning is so profound. He's basically saying that in a world that's gone completely chaotic, the most radical act of hope you can make is to build a family.
And really, that's the core of their story, isn't it? The war didn't stop their lives. The fear didn't stop their love. In the face of the biggest, scariest uncertainty they had ever known, they made this incredibly defiant choice to just keep building their future together.
Which kind of leaves us with this final thought. You know, Betty and Fred's story is such a powerful reminder that history isn't just something that happens to us. It's something we respond to. We can respond with fear, sure, but also with resilience. And sometimes we respond with the simple, incredibly powerful courage to love and build a future anyway. And it makes you wonder, right? In our own uncertain world, what is it that gives us that same courage? That's definitely something worth thinking about.